So, I'm going to give you some advice about relationships, or rather how to avoid having a really unfortunately disappointing relationship with the person you're already with, for a while at least. Usually you should have like a buffer period of at least 4 or 5 months to see if the magic and the energy sort of just goes away. Because early in a relationship, it's really hard to know if it's going to survive or not. But if you've been with someone for a while and you see these 8 signs, really, just 8 things in this other person, you should probably just call it off. And you might wonder, like, who am I to say this? I'm 29 years old right now. I have dated a lot of women. I've been on a lot of dates. I've had long-term relationships as well. Longest one was 2 years. I've just been through a lot. Of course, I've also seen my friends' relationships. I've seen family relationships. I've seen my parents, of course, both divorced. So I saw a lot of stuff with that. And of course, their remarriages. And I also had my grandparents, actually, which is what I base my perception of the correct relationship off of, my grandparents, my father's side of the family. A lot of people do base their perfect ideal of relationship off of what they've seen in their family members, usually their parents, or maybe a sibling or something like that. Problem with this is that a lot of people don't have really great relationships, and that gives other people the perspective that that's the best they can get, is what somebody else they know has. And that's just the wrong way to go about it. I'm fortunate in that I've actually seen what true love looks like, and you might think that's funny, but it's true. I'll give you an example of a situation involving my grandparents, which is the only relationship I've ever seen where I really think that there was true love there. Grandparents. My grandmother got Alzheimer's after I became an adult and joined the Army. And she started thinking that her mother was still alive, and she wanted to go visit her. And she would bug my grandfather to basically go to her house, where it wasn't even standing anymore. It's not there. They live in a different state even. And he would get her and put her in the truck, and he would drive around until she just forgot what they were going to do. Because he didn't have the heart to tell her that her mother's dead, and he'd want to fight with her about it. And just for that brief moment that she believes that she's going to go see her mother, who's been dead for years and years and years, for that moment she's happy that she's going to go see her own mother. And he would drive around for hours and hours and hours to give her that. That is true love, guys. So many people have relationships where they're constantly trying to fight to get somebody to just get off the couch, That ain't true love. That is not an ideal relationship, and so many people think that's what they should have. So, I have seen true love. I know exactly what it is. I know what it produces, and this is the 8 signs that you don't have true love, okay? Number 1, they don't care if you have trouble with your friends or your family, or if or they don't care about your friends in general. This is actually really important, and it really covers down to parenting. Everything that you want in a person ultimately boils down to whether they're going to be a good parent to your children. It's really the truth, and this is the first one. If they don't care about your friends and what's going on with them, they're also not going to care about your kids and what friends they have and what's going on with them. This is going to really play a role if your kid wants to get involved in team sports, You think that someone who doesn't give a shit about your friends is going to want to coach a minor league baseball team or even be involved in that? No, they're not going to want to be involved in Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. They don't want to take them to, choir practice. They don't want to take them to any of that stuff, because that's the same mentality. It really is. I've seen this stuff beforehand. They don't care about your friends, they don't care about your children's friends, and by extension, they wouldn't even really care about your children. They'll sort of be there, and they'll be too busy doing their own fun stuff with their group of friends, or, just home playing World of Warcraft all day or something. There's an extension. How your partner treats you is how they're going to treat your children. And this is something that a lot of single moms realize, and then they try to get in the market and date guys. And a lot of guys don't want to date them because they don't want to get involved in the drama, which is present when you have another asshole that the girl doesn't want to be involved with, and they're terrible family they don't want to be involved with, and it sucks. It sucks for them, but that's how most people, I think, learn, is after they've already had children and realized that things are all screwed up with this other person, and they should have saw the warning signs then. Second thing, they spend their money very selfishly. What's a good example? My father, before I was born, they were having not a lot of money coming in and stuff. He goes out and buys a motorcycle and rides that around. And even when I was alive, he would go out and buy toys and stuff like that. By toys, I mean like race cars and stuff like that. They didn't have a lot of money. They're struggling, just to buy clothing and food and stuff like that. And he goes out and splurges on something for him and his boys to go hang out with. That's an example. If they spend money selfishly, they really are just thinking about themselves, and that's going to hurt, especially when you have children involved. That's going to take away from what your children should be having. You're a bad parent, and if they're doing that before you even have children, that's a warning sign that they're going to do it when you do have children. People don't just magically wake up and say, oh, I have a kid now, I have to be responsible. It doesn't work that way. If they don't feel they have to be responsible in the relationship with you, they're never going to feel that way. Okay, so number 3, the relationship is really all about them, what they want. Again, this comes down to being a good parent too. If they're not going to be a good partner, they're not going to be a good parent either. And when you have kids, kids are demanding, and sometimes kids want to do the same thing again and again and again. They want to go to Chuck E. Cheese all the time. They want to go to the amusement park. I have a situation where my dad, my mother had promised us that we could go to amusement park when I was like, oh God, I must have been like 7, 6 or something like that. So looking forward to going this weekend. And we went there, and then my dad saw that there happened to be a car show going on in the parking lot area. So you know what we ended up doing? We ended up walking around the parking lot area and looking at the car show and never going to the amusement park. And I still remember my parents fighting on the way home about it, Is that the kind of thing you want? Well, if you have a guy who doesn't want to take you out to the restaurants you want to go to, he doesn't want to go out to events that you'd like to go to, he just wants to do stuff with his, that he's personally interested in, and he just doesn't have the I don't know, the drive, I guess, to want to take you to do stuff that you want to do, he's going to be the exact same way with your children. And your children are going to be deprived of any experience that you think that they should have and he disagrees with. Basically, this type of person makes it impossible to be a good parent. To give your kids, everything that you want to give them. You have to have the right person. You have to have a person who is a true partner. You hear it from people like, we are one and stuff, but you both want very different things out of life. That doesn't make you one. Number 4, cannot handle criticism or the idea others don't agree with them all the time. And some people throw around, you can't handle criticism carelessly and apply it to basically mean you don't agree with me. That's not what unable to handle criticism means. To be able to handle criticism means that you can hear somebody out, actually think about what they're saying, and try to make a judgment based on that. Like, for example, there's a lot of people that tell me that I don't handle criticism because I disagree with certain things in video games that I review, and because I reply back to them saying, no, I'm pretty positive that my judgment is the way I feel about this game, they say, you can't handle criticism. And I'm like, just because, I have like a short amount of text space here, and I obviously can't write down my whole thought process, but the truth of it is this, okay? Handling criticism means that you hear people out. You don't just turn and walk away. You don't sit there with an angry face, and just ignore what they're saying, and you're dead set in your ways. You listen to them out calmly, you truly think about what they're saying, and then you make a decision. That's what handling criticism means. It doesn't mean that they disagree with you. That's different, okay? So, and the reason this is important is because when you're a parent, you're going to make a lot of some mistakes, and people are going to give you advice who know better. And if you can't handle criticism, you're not going to listen to this advice, and your children are going to suffer for it. Another thing You try to deal with teachers and schools. That's hard, that's rough, and sometimes the teachers are going to tell you that you're not being a very good parent. And you might do something stupid if you can't handle criticism, like scream or even attack the teacher. You'll take offense to what they're saying rather than simply saying, okay, well, I have a really busy job and I haven't been as good of a parent as I really could be, and I should be doing more. I should be more attentive. I should make sure that they take a shower every day and brush their teeth and stuff like that, because I obviously haven't been doing this. There's a lot of parents out there that immediately cannot handle the criticism, the idea that they're not good parents. And this is really important to get. If they can't handle the criticism before there's kids, they sure as hell will not handle it when there is kids involved. Number 5, they are habitually rude to people, even behind their backs being rude. And this is important because your kids are going to be around you all the time, and they're going to pick up whatever traits and mannerisms that you both have. So if you're rude people, they're going to be rude to people too. That's how bullies get created, because their parents are rude assholes, and then their kids become rude assholes too. If you want your kid to be a bully, by all means date somebody who's rude and clever all the time, and that's exactly what you'll get. You'll get a little fucking hell devil who'll also be rude to you, and be rude to your friends, and rude to their friends, and someday they will grow up and have rude children of their own, and the cycle will just continue and continue and continue. Don't do it. Number 6, they're very lazy people. This also plays in with being a parent again, and also a good partner. And I guess it kind of throws into the whole, number 3 thing with the relationship really being just about them and their personal interests. So I guess that'd be a little bit repetitive. But it's worth saying that if someone's really lazy, they don't have the drive to succeed in the world, to earn the money necessary to do all the stuff that you really want to do in life, and especially with your kids, and to provide the opportunities you want them to have. They would rather, work at home and do whatever they want in their spare time, rather work at home, and then when their free time comes around, rather than do anything with their kids, they just play video games, or go drink some beers in the front yard or something, and holler at girls jogging by. Or they do the opposite. They don't get a job, and they try to leech off you and whatever sugar mama earnings you're making. So don't go for someone who's lazy, because that doesn't work out. Number 7, they don't know what they want, or you don't know what you want out of the relationship. You don't know where it's heading. Early in the relationship I can get this, but after a certain amount of time, at least after 5 months, definitely by a year, you should know whether you want to marry this person or not. If you're undecided, don't marry them, because you should know by now, and they should know by now. And it's just silly. People are like, well, I'm still not sure, we've been dating for like 5 years. Whatever. The only reason some people stay together when they're unsure is because they're unsure if they're going to find something better. And you can. It's going to take a while, sure, and it's not going to, the perfect person is not going to fall off a tree. Jerry Maguire, isn't going to pop out of a Happy Meal box and be your prize. But, the perfect person is out there. And you could find them, but you're not going to find them as long as you're anchored down to somebody else who's ruining your day, basically. There's so many people that won't even approach you because you're already in a relationship. And they don't want to be the person that sabotages something, because they don't know all the facts. You know all the facts, though. You know they do all these things that don't make them right for you. But you stay with them because you're used to it. It's a habit. You probably have some sort of lease or something together. There's all kinds of practical reasons. The important thing is that the longer you stay with them, the less likely it is that you're going to find the right person for you, because you're tied down to somebody else. So, and more beyond that, when it comes to children, are they going to be an accident and then you're going to be scrambling to figure something out? Is that the kind of environment you want to have your children raised in, where you didn't have a plan? You should know that you want to get married. You should know you want to have children. You should know where your life is heading. Definitely. I mean, that's part of being an adult. That's part of being in a relationship, is knowing this stuff. If you haven't figured it out after several months, it's time to end the relationship. That's just my opinion from my experiences, seeing other people, screw up, not just themselves, but also their kids, by not being prepared, not knowing what the fuck they're doing. Number 8, They try to transform you into their fantasy. I mean, you go on Craigslist, you see all these ads, at least I do, from women. They're looking for a very particular type of guy, and sometimes they'll settle for someone who's mostly it, but not all of it, and they're willing to try to transform them and shape them and mold them into being whatever their fetish is. And that's just silly. It's silly for several reasons. One, as a parent, they're going to do that to your children. They're going to try to mold your children into what they want the children to be. And this is going to be beyond, a good person, an honest person. This is going to be beyond that. It's going to be stuff like trying to interfere with things they can't help. Like, let's say that your spouse does not want your children to be gay. They're not going to accept them if they're gay. Another example, very particular colleges they want them to go to, very particular field. Maybe they want them to take over the family business, and they don't have any other alternate plans for that. That's not just going to jeopardize the future of your, financials. It's going to jeopardize the future of your children and your relationship with them. Because maybe your child doesn't want to, I don't know, take over the family plumbing business. Maybe they want to be a painter. That's going to be friction, that's going to be problems. And if you don't have someone who's accepting and is capable of loving someone for who they are and who they want to be, what they're going to, achieve, if they can't do that with you, they're not going to do it with the children. And then when it comes to you, a lot of people are looking for a very particular type, and if you can't fit that type anymore, they're done with you. A lot of women get taken by surprise when their husband, ditches them when they turn 30 or 40, and they no longer look like the hot supermodel anymore. And who do they go with? They go with the hot supermodel they met at a stripper mall. It comes by surprise. But the warning sign was that the guy was trying to transform her into this, image that he wanted the woman to be in. Someone that really loves you doesn't care what your hair color is, what your skin color is, your eye color. They don't care about how tall you are. They don't care if you get fat. They're going to stick with you throughout their whole life and your whole life. They understand that eventually, if you're dating in your 20s or something, or even your 30s, they're going to understand that eventually when you start hitting the 40s and 50s and 60s, nobody stays looking like that no more. You get wrinkly, you start putting on extra weight. Parts of your body don't start working so well anymore. There's issues with cancer and stuff. How many stories you ever heard about a guy leaving his wife when she's on her deathbed? She's got cancer or something. There's warning signs, and the warning sign is a guy who's trying to transform you, or even a woman trying to transform you. The gold digger sort of deal. There's lots of cougars out there who've abandoned their middle-aged husbands because he no longer looked like, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it's a warning sign. And that's pretty much what I've got for you, these 8 things, big warning signs, and I'm very, very certain about this stuff, that these are people that, if you see these qualities in the person you're dating, it's not a good relationship, and you're not going to change them. You're not going to change them. All you're going to do by staying with them is enable them, because they can temporarily try to fix themselves and put on a show of how they're going to change, but they're not really changing. I know so many people, and it's not just like in romantic relationships with friends even, who are like this with people. They put on an act like, I'm going to change, I'm going to be different, but they don't change. They never change. I have a stepbrother who's like that. Puts on a show, doesn't actually change because the mentality is the same. And as long as people are giving them what they want, you're enabling them because they're still getting it. In the case of a relationship, they're still getting the sex from you. They're still getting to show you off to the world, and you can be, their trophy wife or trophy husband or whatever. They're still getting what they want, and they're convincing you, they're doing this mind jitsu stuff to convince you that the relationship could work, that they will eventually change. It's just really hard for me to change because this is who I am, and you need to, I'm doing the best I can. It's nonsense. They're never going to change. So, I've been through a lot of relationships, I've been through a lot of this stuff, and I've seen it in other people, and I'm at the point in my life I don't want to deal with the crap anymore. I see these things in people, I walk. It's probably why I've been in so many relationships. So, it's my advice to you. Hope this has been meaningful to you. Laters.